Hi, everyone. I'm Elaine Quijano. It's good to be with you. Thanks for joining us. President Biden's policies are proving to be more popular than he is. That's according to a new poll out from Monmouth University. Support for the bipartisan infrastructure deal stands at 65%. Mr. Biden's social and climate investment plan, which for now includes increased health care, college aid, and paid leave, enjoys the support of 62% of those surveyed. Yet the president himself is looking at approval ratings down to 42%, the lowest they've been, and a disapproval rating of 50%. President Biden visited the historic port city of Baltimore to promote the infrastructure bill, which he plans to sign into law Monday. The president pivoted from the White House's constant assurance that rising consumer goods prices would go away soon. In a statement, he acknowledged inflation is a hardship for Americans and said he's marshaling resources to address it. He also argued the nation's economic success is potentially intertwined with the passage of the social and climate spending plan.
Consumer prices remain too high. Tell us, the American people, in the midst of this economic crisis, the recovery is showing strong results, but not to them. They're still looking out there. Everything from a gallon of gas to a loaf of bread costs more, and it's worrisome, even though wages are going up. We still face challenges, and we have to tackle them. We have to tackle them head on.
Meanwhile, we learned late last night that a federal judge rejected former President Trump's attempt to keep secret the details of events surrounding January 6th. Judge Tanya Chutkan wrote in her ruling, presidents are not kings, and the plaintiff is not president, undermining the crux of Mr. Trump's legal argument that his executive privilege extends indefinitely. It comes as the House Capitol Riot Committee is expanding its list of subpoenas, but it remains to be seen if they'll actually cooperate. Some in the Republican Party have expressed a desire to move past the deadly insurrection. Wyoming Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney says that is not possible.
And at this moment, when it matters most, we are also confronting a domestic threat that we've never faced before. A former president who's attempting to unravel the foundations of our constitutional republic.
For more, let's bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion. Hi there, Nikole. So now that the judge has rejected former President Trump's request to withhold documents related to January 6th, and Mr. Trump immediately appealed, what happens next?
So again, this appellate process will have to play out, and that could potentially slow down the release of these documents, which were due to be transferred over to the committee as soon as this Friday. But committee members have already indicated that it's possible that could get pushed back pending the outcome of this appeal. And of course, it's even possible, depending on how things play out, that this could eventually go all the way up to the Supreme Court, depending on how long the former president wants to go with this. We do know, according to one of his spokespersons, that he does intend to follow this process through. So it's certainly possible that this could go up to the highest court in the land.
Well, you interviewed Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren, who serves on the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attacks. Here's some of what she had to say about the investigation.
And how wide-reaching will this probe go as far as looking or potentially subpoenaing further White House officials?
Well, I can't answer that question. We are following the inquiry where it leads us as additional individuals come in, and we've had over 150 interviews so far. We've had employees, White House employees, come in voluntarily and say what they know. As we learn things, we learn about the need to find out additional information. Obviously, we're still pursuing documents, and hopefully that will provide additional insight. But we're just going to do our job until we find out all the facts. And then...
Nikole, what else did she tell you about where things stand?
Well, more or less, I mean, you heard it there that the committee continues to interview countless witnesses. Obviously, we know this week the committee has already subpoenaed 16 individuals with pretty close ties to the former president, ranging from his former press secretary to former aides like Stephen Miller, his former advisor Jason Miller, who used to serve as a spokesperson for the former president. So there are a number of officials that the committee has targeted this week. You know what committee member Lofgren told me, though, is that, you know, again, they're going to continue to follow the facts where they lead. I did ask her if she had gotten an indication yet about the Department of Justice. As you know, they are currently considering the contempt citation that Congress referred to the Justice Department with respect to Steve Bannon, who thus far is the only individual who has more or less snubbed the committee and refused to cooperate. So as of now, he is the only person potentially facing these criminal contempt charges. But I did ask her if other criminal referrals are possible, and she did not rule that out.
All right, well, the committee issued over a dozen subpoenas over the past several days. What do those indicate about who the committee has spoken to, what areas they're focusing on, and who it is the committee is still trying to get to testify?
Well, again, as I mentioned, you know, you have more than a dozen individuals who were subpoenaed this week who were and in some cases still are close to the former president. And, you know, these are folks who did work at the White House and folks who worked with the former president's re-election campaign, including his former campaign manager, as I mentioned, his former spokesperson and advisor, the former White House press secretary. So, you know, basically the committee really wants to speak to any and everyone who had communications potentially with the former president around the time of January 6th to find out what they knew in the run-up. Certainly many of these officials have been involved or were reportedly involved in this kind of war room, if you will, that took place at the Willard Hotel not far from where that rally on the Ellipse took place. So certainly the committee wants to find out more about that with respect to the former president's election challenges. You know, that's part of why they're targeting some of these individuals who worked with his campaign. And then, of course, with respect to the White House, you know, we still don't know exactly how involved or how engaged the former president was on that day. And so to the extent that the committee can talk to people who worked directly with the former president at that time, they certainly hope to be able to glean that type of information.
All right, Nikole Killion on Capitol Hill for us. Nikole, thank you very much.
You bet.